This is my blood work update about my B12 deficiency. When your consultant phones you out of the blue, you know it's either going to be really good news, like your tumour's gone down by 50% and loads of your metastases have disappeared, or it's going to be really bad news. This time it was bad news. My vitamin B12 levels had dropped to a critically low level. Vitamin B12 has got loads of different functions, like keeping our brains healthy, helping form red blood cells, helping form our genetic material, and balancing levels of homocysteine. If you don't have enough of it, it can cause permanent damage. There have been symptoms like the fatigue, ridges in my thumbnail, chapped lips, new grey hairs, pale periocular skin underneath my eyes, vitiligo spots on my legs. My tongue was swollen and had scalloping down the sides, and I also had a very pale tongue. My body was craving the iron in hummus to stave off the homocysteine due to my B12 deficiency. I also had bloating and a lot of irritability. The daily requirement for vitamin B12 is only 2.4 micrograms, and it should last 6.3 years in your body. Chemical B12 is called cyanocobalamin. This can be converted in the body to methylcobalamin, which is the type of B12 you find in food. Excess B12 in the body is usually excreted through urine. I've been worried about supplementing with B12 because I understood too high B12 was correlated with cancer. When I looked into it more, low B12 was also correlated with cancer, and high B12 seemed to be more a product of liver malfunction rather than cancer actually feeding on the B12. But why did I have a B12 deficiency? Was it the vegan diet? There are few natural vegan sources of B12. It was interesting that my B12 levels had increased since starting the vegan diet, and I only started supplementing after that slight increase. But after this, my levels dropped like a stone. We now know this was due to bile acid malabsorption. I made some mistakes when I was dealing with the B12, like taking too much niacin. This study in rats made me think spirulina supplementation was a good idea, and it also provides a great heavy metal detox. But it was actually a terrible idea. My fatigue levels rocketed. It turns out there are two types of B12 in plants, active and inactive. Taking the inactive version, which is in spirulina, actually has a negative effect on B12 status. But this isn't true of all plant sources, and chlorella is actually okay. When I found this out, I also got rid of the wheatgrass I was taking for my pancreatitis. In the end, I did several things that I think that worked, including changing the way that I took the B12, from just swallowing a pill to taking it sublingually. I also tried suppositories and dissolving it in oil and rubbing it in my skin. Sublingual was definitely the best. I changed my diet to include genuine vegan sources of B12, including dried shiitake mushrooms, chlorella and nori seaweed. I found some research on a link between bile acid malabsorption and pelvic floor dysfunction. My theory was this was all about the ileocecal valve's function, and I developed a theory that you might be able to fix ileocecal valve dysfunction by strengthening your pelvic floor. I should say that your ileocecal valve is what is responsible for reclaiming all of the vitamin B12 in your body. The yoga exercise for strengthening pelvic floor muscles was Kapalbhati pranayama breathing. So I decided to try this. I looked into bacteria that produced B12, and I started making handmade sauerkraut and supplementing with lactobacillus reuteri. Did it work? I think so. Check out this chart of my results, which shows me slap bang in the middle of the normal range. You're invited to follow my progress against stage 4 pancreatic cancer on She Dares Live.